Hello and welcome everybody back to our first webinar of the season. And today we're going to talk about data integrity in GxP environments. And I'm really happy that we have a returner to our studio. You might remember Monica from a webinar we did in the middle of the year. Um, Nevertheless, I'm still very happy to present today Veena Neer, our CEO at Redby, and working a lot in cloud in regulated industries. And aside her today, again, Monica Andreas, she's the founder of Dynamis Compliance and has a lot to say about data integrity, which is why we invited her to our studio today. Monica, let's hand it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Monica Andreos. I'm happy to be here with you today to discuss data integrity. I've been working in the pharma field for 13 years. I started in R&D labs and moved quite a bit to different departments like IT, OT, technical services, and even professional services before starting Dynamis Compliance, an independent consulting firm. So today the goal is to provide you with actionable insights and practical tips that you can start using immediately. And I'm excited to share my knowledge, and I look forward to an engaging discussion.
Thank you. Yes, I managed to add the slide deck back to the stage. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Saskia. And yes, let's get it started. And we are focusing today also on all these GxP and data integrity topics in the connection to Atlassian Cloud specifically. And we'll try to be really hands-on and practical. We decided to focus on a use case. And while this is not an actual company, we all know them. So CAPS Pharma is going under a digital transformation initiative in everything that relates to their software delivery efforts. So, as a pharma company, they have a lot of software going on from their manufacturing side to their SAP installation and other systems. Many of them are actually GxP sensitive. And they have been delivering changes and updates to those systems for many years using old methods. Some of the systems are managed through a GxP lifecycle that relies on Word and Excel. Yes, you know it. There are still many companies and many systems that use Word and Excel to manage their requirements specification and test cases. Other systems in CAMS Pharma are using a very big and legacy requirements management system. So think about maybe HPALM, JAMA, doors. These systems are pretty big, heavy, and complicated. And there are many drawbacks to this. First of all, myriad of different experiences that people have across different teams, but also they feel now that they cannot get the advantages of all the new buzzwords that they hear about. So if you just think about going agile, so instead of delivering updates to your platforms once or twice a year, what would happen if you could deliver it every month, maybe every week even under GxP? What about using DevOps, automation, connectivity, integrations, and of course, the big word that looms above everything else now, which is AI. We want to take advantage of AI initiatives. And all these archaic processes and systems that we have in place to support us with our system delivery do not help. So we are moving to the Atlassian Cloud, and we have a lot of work to do that. But one big theme is looming above our heads here, because we know that working in GxP environment means that we need to be very careful and take care about our data integrity. So here we have Monica today to tell us a little bit more about data integrity and how to to think about it in the context of this specific digital transformation effort?
Well, we can start with the regulatory definition, which is the degree to which data are complete, consistent, trustworthy, reliable, accurate, and that's maintained throughout the data lifecycle. And of course, with that comes satisfying all the Alcoa principle. But what we need is a mindset shift, Rena. We don't want to loom over. We don't want to dance. We don't want to be, the rain and the parade. We want to think of data integrity as an asset. Okay, so stop thinking of it as a chore or a regulatory requirement, and start thinking of it as a way to bolster your product, your decisions, your processes, your understanding, and all of that. Because your AI eventually, when you use it, is going to need data integrity. Your data has to be made out of good, accurate, trustworthy things. So can't really talk about good data integrity without talking about your organizational maturity and your data governance. And your data governance is going to reflect data integrity. So we want to think of it like a house. You can buy a house, you can rent a house. And I learned this lesson the hard way. Okay, when I was a young college student, I was looking for a place to live. My only two requirements were budget and location.
Okay.
We ended up getting an apartment it met those requirements. But then we also had a landlord that was not responsive. And so we ended up going through all winter with no heat. There were mice in the apartment. At some point, the roof was leaking.
Wow.
And when you're in a landlord, you expect your landlord to come help you fix the issues, right? So we're emailing him, we're calling him, no response. Now I was like, is he okay? We should probably check on him. He's not responding to us. But then he would cash our checks. So I'm like, okay, so he's definitely okay. He's doing very fine. We just did not do a good job in choosing a good landlord. So we want to think about it that way when we're talking about these cloud solutions and your SaaS and all of that. You want to look at your vendor like a landlord. Is this a good vendor? Or, maybe is there another option out there? So let's talk about the pillars of data governance. You got your quality culture, so things like clear ownership, accountability, communication, all of that. You also have data culture, so having good digital hygiene in your procedural, behavioral, and technical controls. You want to have good knowledge management, so things like your training, your resource continuity, your vendor management, your information management, your data management, all of that. And then your IT infrastructure, so your design and your architecture of your data and your systems integration. All of those things correlate back to having good data integrity. When you're looking for a provider, you don't do it just for inside your organization. You also have to assess your provider for those things as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I will go back to the landlord analogy, I'm sure. Okay. So, back to actually our agenda for today, we will be, as I said, trying to be very concrete. The topic is vast. It's enough to look at this to understand from how many angles we can try to cover it. So we'll not try to aim to cover everything and anything, but we'll focus on three specific questions. The first one is how actually to think about data integrity in the context of our specific digital transformation project, the one that we are doing for Camps Pharma, where they want to actually improve their test development platform and requirement traceability. So all the things that really touch in the management of their software updates across their GxP system. The second question we'll touch is actually how to handle the fact that the Atlassian is not a classical GxP vendor. You cannot audit them, and how to think about this from data integrity point of view. Third one is how to think about Atlassian and the third party apps. So the vast universe of a few thousands of marketplace apps Some of them we actually want to use in our digital transformation project. So without delay, we'll go into our data integrity question around the test report system. So let's look at the system first because everything needs to be in context. What we want to do is really improve the way that we develop tests and actually perform our testing activities for our systems. And since we want to be modern, we want to have a lot of automatic tests. So all our testers will undergo qualification, upgrade, or will hire testers that can write automatic tests and develop automatic tests. And we'll still continue to write some manual tests as well, because we all know that full test coverage is basically a combination of both automatic and some manual tests. The results of our testing activities will be stored in Jira. So this yellow square is Jira Cloud, and we'll do also our requirements management in Jira as well. So we'll move away from the legacy way of managing requirement and tracing them down into tests, and we'll do this in Jira. And when we need to create our release documentations and our requirement traceability matrix, we'll use Confluence to aggregate the data from Jira and create those beautiful reports in one or two clicks of a button, which we can beautifully do, for example, with the Jira Snapshots for Confluence, which is one of the apps that the Radby provides specifically for this purpose of aggregating all the reports from the raw data that we have in Jira. These reports will then be exported if we need to submit them, for example, to regulatory authorities or third parties or what have you. So this is basically our system that we envision and we want to build. How to think about it from data integrity.
Yeah. So your report is going to be a snapshot. It gives you a status as a point in time. You still need to look after all of the information and all of the records that are going to justify, improve, and reconstruct the events that you got to that point. So that includes your data and your metadata. It also seems like data could be moving in between systems through integrations, or they're being pulled. So this is where your data process map really comes into play in your data lineage. It's critical to understand, to define, and to show your business process, right? So in that first slide, we had the business process also under your organizational maturity. You want to define and identify the systems and the data being created on each of those systems. Then you want to classify the data. Is it critical? Is it not critical? Same thing with your systems. And then you're going to follow through. You're going to see where they go, where one point starts and where another point ends. You're going to want to identify the risks. So are you moving data? Are you copying data? Are you leaving data behind and just taking a report and putting that somewhere else? Identify those risks, either technical, procedural, behavioral, and document and mitigate, maybe accept if you need to. But the main thing is that you understand and that you have a traceable way of going back and understanding, the decisions that you took, and if things need to change or be updated, then that's fine. We learn from mistakes, we learn from successes, we learn both ways. So there are some challenges. It could be complex. There could be some data silos. The data is isolated on certain systems. It's not fully integrated. There could be some manual processes. So the key is to just map that through and understand where your risks are, and then have the testing that proves and justifies your decisions.
Yeah, so I want actually to share a real life challenge that I'm facing with one of our customers in these days. They are building a system that is very much like this system. And they, in one of our discussions, yes, it I discovered that one of their thinking about the automatic test that they will be doing is that they will record as evidence video files of the execution. And apparently, because of the technology involved, those video files will be quite large. So those big, large video files, which are basically GxP evidence for the successful execution of those tests, will be generated here by the build system during the build and the automatic test cycle. And they were planning to put it all into Jira, then include this in the report and send it in a PDF. Now, what does it actually mean to count on the fact that your evidence is a video file and the fact that it will be embedded in the PDF? So technically, you could embed it in a PDF, but most people who get a PDF with embedded video will not know exactly what to do with it. Then it creates challenges in terms of storage, both in all the places. So it is really requiring another layer of work on this part and consideration, because clearly a video file, and if the system is going to produce a lot of large video files, there is implication across the system, and it's exactly a data integrity type of challenge, because you need to think about basically, where do I store the data? Are the systems ready to store it? Which system is ready to store it? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, this is where data integrity by design comes in. You want to have your process mapped out as well as you can, so you can ask these questions at the beginning, right? You don't want to just implement systems and just be like, oh no, what are we going to do? We need these videos. They're really large. They're going to slow us down. We want to think about that before we start. What kind of evidence do we have? They're video files, they're this big. We anticipate having, this many videos. Do we have the right infrastructure, the right amount of space? Are we going to put them in the right location? So we want to plan all of this out in the beginning as much as we can to kind of avoid the confusion down the road and the Band-Aids and the duct tape and all of that.
Yes, and this is the type of thing that is really not obvious, because I must say that we were few good brainstorms into this whole discussion until suddenly I just by chance said, and by any chance, are you going to do video files as evidence? And they said, yeah, actually, yes, and they are pretty big. So, wow, suddenly, let's say, someone connected the dots that, yes, if we are going to have big video files generated by the gallons, there's implication to add to this across the system. Okay. And the second question that often is one of the first questions that is asked when people want to move their GxP workloads into Atlassian in general, but specifically Atlassian Cloud. Those, meaning a lot of organizations traditionally send this quality questionnaire or quality assessment questionnaire, and it includes a prerequisite to audit the vendor. Atlassian are not entertaining audit requests as part of any agreement that you have for them. So, how would you consider this, Monica?
Well, the risk lies with the regulated company at the end of the day, no matter what. But you do want to explore all of your options. You want to make sure that you're minimizing the risk to your data integrity and your data loss and your data availability. Generally, these types of vendors have maybe generic agreements like master level agreements and quality agreements. So you need to read those very well, understand them, understand the implications that they would have on your organization and how you like to do things and how you function. Um, I would also suggest hiring the right consultants to help you understand the certain certifications that may be applicable to you. So if there's clinical data being discussed or being stored, then you want to hire someone who knows all about GDPR, go through their SOC certificates, their ISOs, their NIST, ITILs, all the letters, and just fully understand what you're getting into. Document those risks in a risk assessment, right? Make sure you understand the rules and the responsibilities, what they will do in the event something happens, what you would do in the event something happens. So you just want to have that risk assessment done and fully understood, and you want to mitigate any disasters that could potentially come up, basically.
Mhm. I want to mention in this regard, 1 minute, I'll add this to the stage. Yes, that Atlassian specifically have a trust center, and part of their trust center is security compliance, uh, which has a lot of information about the data that you store in their cloud, eh, including a lot of certifications. So they are constantly adding more and more certification, and they provide more and more information. So if you have, for example, visited this trust center 2 years ago, it would not be anywhere near rich as it is today. It's an area of constant work for Atlassian. And if there is still something that is missing, you can approach Atlassian and ask them if a certain certificate is on their roadmap and so on. So I encourage you to go there and have a look. You might find that a lot of the areas of concerns in terms of data security are basically addressed already there. Yes, and the last big question we wanted to touch on today relates to um, data integrity considerations when looking or thinking about marketplace apps. So, just to put everybody here on the know, 1 second, yes, I will return to my screen sharing. One of the big appeals of actually using Atlassian, and especially using Atlassian Cloud, is the fact that Atlassian has a very rich marketplace of extensions. So, features that you can add to your cloud instance to add functionality. For example, in the flow that we have uh, defined for ourselves, we wanted to add snapshots of Jira data as the way to produce those very nice traceability reports. Another application that we want is X-ray test management for Jira, which brings into Jira all those capabilities of a very rich test management suite. These are actually third-party apps. These are not Atlassian apps, so you are adding to your system something that comes from another vendor. And I wanted just to have a quick tour to show you some of the trust or data security indications that are available to you in the marketplace. First of all, in any of the app listings, you want to check whether the app is cloud fortified or not. So, cloud fortified for itself does not mean that your data is totally protected, but it means better protection than apps that are not cloud fortified. And there is a full detail on the Atlassian website exactly what the cloud fortified means, and you have the shorthand here. So there's a certain assurances that come from just the participation of an app with this program. And another thing that you need to check in the app listing itself, you will find privacy and security. And here you'll find the details of actually where your data is vis-a-vis this app, whether this app stores any of your data, and if it does, how does it protect or ensure protection of this specific data? And this is basically these two indicators are either available or not available, but they are potentially available for all the apps. And I would highly suggest to use apps that actually have these two indicators because they provide information about the data in those apps. And as part of the Atlassian Trust Center, there's also a marketplace app trust center, which gives information basically about everything that I said and what are the risks and how to think about risks of apps on the marketplace. So that's the specific background from Atlassian about it. Um, Back to the expert on how actually to evaluate it when we need to consider whether to use third-party apps or not for our use case.
Yeah, you would want to do your due diligence, whether it's a third party app or not. You need a documented risk assessment. You need to have clearly outlined roles and responsibilities. You want to assess their governance process as well to see how well it fits your organization's needs. You When you're looking at it, obviously you're thinking about your data. You want to minimize data breaches. You want to identify any issues that would come up. What is their restoration and backup controls? What's their disaster recovery? How do they handle data privacy? Are they doing penetration testings? Things that you would do regularly when you're assessing any solutions provider. Also, in your agreements that you have in place, you want to make sure that your data is retrievable. How do you get your data off if you need to? Things like that need to be put in place. And you want to ask yourself questions about this vendor. How do they make sure that my data is secure? Are there, internal, external controls, or is my data encrypted? Things of that nature. You also want to see if you plan on growing, will this vendor scale with you? Will they be able to grow and accommodate your growth needs? How future proof are they? Are they going to be able to keep up, with all of the AI hype? Are they going to keep you kind of stagnant? Are they going to grow with you and expand and give you the technology that you're looking for? These are the things that I would look at.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I can actually testify from a point of view of an app vendor as well as a solution partner, but certainly as an app vendor, one of the large installations that where we have the app installed is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. They have a cloud instance with many thousands of users, and as part of their evaluation process, they communicated with us and they shared with us what is their performance benchmark. So they have a certain scale of app that they wanted to support, and they had this was a requirement on the platform, and we, from our point of view, had to support them to demonstrate that indeed our app works with this size of data under these conditions, and show help them show that it actually works. And we worked to actually build an equivalent benchmark on our development instance to be sure that it actually meets the requirements. So these are absolutely the type of discussions you can have with vendors, especially if you are a large organization. I may say that the larger you are, the more leverage you have on vendors, but I think this is the case in any commercial transaction. Sure.
I like that you brought that up actually, Rena, because the underlying theme also, when you're vetting a vendor or a solutions provider, you're looking at the technical side, but you're also looking at the human side, right? So are they willing to work with you? Are they trying to have these conversations and make themselves better? Are they responsive? You know what I mean? These are the
Yes.
human interactions that you have
Mhm.
between these people that give you a good feeling of, okay, they're going to work with me. If there's an issue that comes up, we're going to work together. We're going to solve it. They're not like, oh, this is just what we do and it is what it is, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. That's something we want to avoid in a provider, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to say one more thing that was thrown to me like a few weeks ago by someone that was considering the app. He said, so how do we know that you will not shut shop because you have won the lottery and you no longer need the app? So one thing that I can say specifically about the Atlassian marketplace, um, it's a flourishing marketplace and has been going strong for many years now. What we see in the last 2 or 3 years in particular is a flurry of M&A activity across the marketplace. So mergers, acquisitions, a lot of VC money comes into the marketplace. So what I said to that person who asked me, said, okay, if I win the lottery, there's no need for me to close shop. I can always sell. So that's actually, I think that just a good, healthy business environment is also something that helps guarantee actually the longevity of vendors within the marketplace.
That's a good point.
Well, this is not directly data intelligence or data integrity, but we could not have a talk 2 weeks after Atlassian launched their big Rovo and made it available to the general public. So sure, Atlassian in cloud are going very strong with their Atlassian Intelligence and the newly launched Rovo app. Um, and I challenge Monica to tell me how she sees it relating to data integrity.
I did see the video that they put up, and I think it's exciting. AI is, of course, exciting. Everyone wants to be agile and wants to be efficient, right? No one is saying that the regulations don't want you to be efficient and they want you to use paper forever and make life hard. No one is saying that at all. But as with anything, input, output. So garbage in, garbage out, or maybe diamonds in, diamonds out. Looking at the Rovo, it looks really exciting, especially in terms of knowledge management, because it's
Mhm.
going through and it's searching your repositories and bringing you information that you're looking for. I've worked in some companies where the information going in was not consistent. So let's say I wanted to search for a specific system to pull up deviations or incidences or any information I wanted to about that system. So I'd type it in, and I'd get maybe like 50% of the results because the people that were putting in the information weren't being consistent about the naming or about the system ID. And it was not coherent, right? It was only showing me part of the picture. So I think this is a really good use case for you to practice being consistent with your data and your metadata and putting everything in, getting everybody all on the same page so that when you do want to recall the information using this Rovo AI, it actually does show you all of the information that you want to see. So in terms of knowledge management, I think it would be really useful. I don't think I saw anything related to GxP yet. I
No,
don't
no,
think we
no.
have
There is
yet.
nothing directly GXP. One of the trends I've heard, not in Rovo, I haven't yet seen in Rovo this aim, but X-Ray actually have put out several blog posts about using AI to generate tests. I have yet to see that happening in GxP. What I hear people saying for the time being is generate. If you want to generate tests with AI, you can, but you have to have a person reviewing the test and improving them and grooming them and making sure that actually the test case makes sense and actually provides the cover. So
Absolutely.
there needs to be a human control over the automatically generated test case.
Can't blame AI. Can't say, oh, AI did it.
No,
Yeah,
no, that's
absolutely.
for sure. Nice. So I think Saskia, um, we brought our presentation to the end. Now let's see if the audience had anything to ask us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, talking about diamonds in, diamonds out, first, thank you for all the diamonds you were sharing here today. That was, I think, a very good overview and gave a lot of food for thought for people watching this, for people working in those industries, how to deal with all the questions we have out right now, right? And especially in the end, when you are going a bit into AI, that's basically on everybody's table right now, right? And I want to pick up a question that we got from the audience because it has a bit a similar philosophical touch to it. Because we got the question: do you think in the near future we will still use Agile as an approach for building applications? What's
Uh,
your take on that?
uh, can I start?
Yes.
Um, so the problem, in my perspective, is that the problem with AI, with Agile, sure, the problem with Agile is that too many people really looked at it as an approach rather than a method. And if you actually look at Agile, there's a lot of very specific practices that have to be in place for the approach to work. So the approach for itself does not, if you decide that you work in 2 week sprint and you will release at the end of each sprint, that for itself is not enough to be able to deliver the promise of Agile. And one of the main problems with Agile is that many teams try to do Agile without actually learning all the skill set that is involved with Agile. So I think that there will be a legacy for Agile in the sense that we have learned a lot of the things from it. Will it remain the only dominant thing that is that people are working on? I don't know. I'm not sure. In GxP, also Agile was never pure Agile. It's always Agile that is involving also all the design controls and requirements management, etc. So it was kind of a hybrid approach. Does that answer give some direction? It's not an answer, it's an opinion.
Monica, what's your take?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not pro agile. I'm not anti agile. I'm here for data integrity. As long as that's maintained. I mean, if it works for your organization, please do. I know the new the GAMP version 2 does talk quite a bit about the agile methodology, and it goes into a lot of detail. It looks very doable. It's very definitely something that you could leverage. Um, will it disappear in the future? I don't think so, but I'm not an expert on that, so I don't know.
There is
Hey,
a lot of baggage, a lot of investments going into Agile, a lot of footprint. Agile has a huge footprint in the industry. So I don't think it will go away, but I think there will be a reckoning in the sense that people will understand that Agile delivery does not mean a messy delivery.
Mhm.
That should be still a controlled delivery. And I think that in pharma and medical technology, we were always there. even people who went into Agile, they needed to be in control. So I think that we are covered from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what you're saying is the rest of the Agile world can learn from how Pharma implemented it. Putting a bit of a
Yes,
poignant
some of it, some of them, yes.
Excellent. This was dense. I felt it was dense. There was a lot in it, and I guess Monica, what I took away from especially what you shared in the space, and thank you again for being here. Data integrity is not magic, right? It is doable, it is manageable, but you got to put in a bit of effort at least. It will not magically happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but I think about data integrity all the time, like when I'm working out or when I'm in the kitchen. I just started making bread. I got into sourdough, and I thought I was the worst baker in the world until I brought a notebook and a pen into the kitchen and I started writing things down. Every time something came out good, I wrote it down, what I did, what the temperatures were, what the ingredients were. Every time something failed, I wrote it down. And that's data integrity, right? I'm writing down my experiences because I'm going to forget and I'm going to keep making the same mistakes, or I'm not going to connect my failures to
Exactly, yes.
Right. And that's what we want to do all day, every day, because we're here in a controlled and regulated environment. We're making medicines, we're making medical devices. We want to understand where we went wrong or where we're doing well,
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's not scary. It's not a burden. It's not a chore. It's just a way, it's a method to document and to understand and to have traceability and have transparency between what you're doing and what the outcome is.
Nice.
I think we have nothing to add. So I think this was an excellent point to wrap it up and to leave that as the last sentence. That was
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you very much, Monica,
Thank you.
again, for being here, for sharing your experience and your knowledge. I will quickly, and while we close this up, put your contact detail on there. I guess everybody is invited to reach out to you. And yeah, to everybody who's watching, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating with your questions. And we will see you soon in the same studio with another guest and another story. But for now, keep your house clean and take notes on your sourdough.
Thank you both so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
She did drop off.